Once upon a time. I will.
Once upon a time, a company came up with the idea of putting together cut versions of classic musicals for pre-teenagers. And they cut some of the best musicals ever made, and they did them in the middle schools to great success. And then they had the idea of doing the same pieces for seniors, for older people, and they chose the first one to be Into the Woods. It was such a positive project that Stephen Sondheim and James Lapine themselves came to a rehearsal and gave it their vote of approval and made everybody feel really good. So this is the story of that production. Hello, I'm Scott Clavin, the director of Into the Woods Senior for MTI and Lenox Hill Neighborhood House, which is a very well-known, very respected community center over on the east side of Manhattan. And I was approached by Freddie Gershon from MTI about working on the senior version of Into the Woods using the script from the Broadway junior version, which they use in middle schools. And our job was to find the cast from the members of Lenox Hill Neighborhood House and audition them just like you would audition people for a professional show, and then cast them. And my job was to put together the whole show and make it a good show, because I really wanted the quality of it to be good. And not only to show what the material, how the material can work with older people, but one, because I really like doing things well, and it's, I think, a sign of respect for the older people to take it seriously and put together a really good show. But also make it a therapeutic experience for people, so that older people have a sense of purpose, they have a project to work on that is being taken seriously, and they're being taken seriously, that they can commit themselves to something really positive and creative. At Lenox Hill, people don't live there, they come there for the meals and the classes and stuff. So we had to put together a rehearsal schedule based on people coming from family vacations, from doctor's appointments, from some of them were still working, and then arrange a schedule around that and put together a cohesive show. Lenox Hill provided a lot of support. It was a total community effort. The costumes were sewn by some of the cast members. Some of the women went into their closets and got stuff they hadn't used in years. And the sets were designed by people in the Lenox Hill art classes. The art class made Milky White, which is the cow in the show. So it was a real group effort. And you had different skill levels of people. The cast had different experience levels in terms of performing, different health levels, different cognitive levels, and different abilities to memorize lines or not. So the challenge, I think, if you work on this kind of material with seniors, often who are either semi-professional actors or not professional actors at all, is to put together a cohesive group experience where people feel they're all working together as part of it, and they all have something to offer. And my job is to make sure everybody looks like they're coming on the same page.
All right, but it wasn't quite, because I caught it in the autumn in my garden one night.
Into the Woods is a really challenging piece of material in terms of music. Stephen Sondheim's stuff has to be sung somewhat. We really looked at the auditions seriously to see who could sing right off the top. And it's amazing how many people can sing. I mean, if you go to Thanksgiving dinner, I bet you there's one or two people there who can, in your family, who can sing. I mean, it's just something people can do. So we were really pleasantly surprised by the amount of people who really could sing and could carry a tune. Many of the people in the show had some kind of performing experience, whether it was in school, semi-professional stuff, community theater, summer stock, but hadn't done it for many years. They had to go make a living, so there was a great degree of enthusiasm for people to get back into something that they loved doing as younger people, as kids, and to get into it as an older person and revisit that kind of thing. So we used the best people we could, really, in terms of who could sing, and right off the top. And then for the parts that weren't heavily, that didn't have heavy singing in them, I used people's personalities, you know. The people brought to it a lot of colorful personalities. When you work with seniors, you're working with people who have a lifetime of experience and sometimes have really fun, entertaining, touching personalities that you can plug into a part in the play. To make the experience even more meaningful, we had a really diverse cast. We had white, African American, Latino, Chinese people, and it was a real picture, snapshot of New York and also the membership of Lenox Hill Neighborhood House too. Lenox Hill Neighborhood House has a large population of Mandarin-speaking Chinese people as part of their membership. And one of the only requests they made to us was to somehow use some Mandarin speakers in the show. And coincidentally, MTI has a Mandarin script of Into the Woods, which we could use. And when they went to Stephen Sondheim and James Lapine, they said, go for it. They were all in favor of it. So Cinderella's mother has a small song when she goes to the tree, which is basically like her grave in the story. And we used that song, and we had a really beautiful singer in it to sing that song in Mandarin. And then I put some narration surrounding that scene also in Mandarin and had an English speaker to translate it. Not only to, show respect to the Chinese people who were there and use them in the show, include them in the show, but also to show how the material can be used with different populations of people. So it really becomes a multicultural experience, which was really exciting. And I thought the Mandarin parts worked great in the show.
I protected you, and yet you disobeyed me.
I am no longer a child. I wish to see the world.
I've been an actor for a long time, and it's a really interesting thing that sometimes you can be more yourself on a stage than you are in life sometimes, because you're expressing something that you sometimes have never expressed before in life, or that way, with that intensity in life. And you can do that in a play. And I think even people who've lived a long time were expressing things maybe that they have never expressed to that degree before. There's a scene of the witch and her daughter, Rapunzel, and she sings "Stay With Me" in the play, Into the Woods. And it's a really moving moment about being a parent, letting go of your child or not letting go of your child. And that's not the kind of thing you would normally express, perhaps, to your child. Stay with me with that intensity. And the woman Maggie did a terrific job in that scene. And it takes two, the man and wife, the husband and wife, sing to each other about how they've changed in this journey and in their quest in the woods. And if you're married for a long time, sometimes you don't express yourself to each other that way anymore. But these people were expressing it with that fullness while singing that I think is probably a new experience for people. I mean, we had pretty mobile, youthful seniors in our show. But we had one woman who was in a wheelchair, and we used that in the show. The baker's wife, Linda, was in a wheelchair. We cast her and her husband, Ed, as the baker and the baker's wife. We used the wheelchair. We put it center stage. We had Ed, the baker, push the baker's wife around in the wheelchair when they sing It Takes Two, so that to use that stuff and not shy away from it and not be embarrassed about it, I think really deepens the whole experience. Their interaction was so real and natural, and Ed was caring for her during the whole show, so you had a mixture of reality and fantasy going on there. They were bringing something very real to that was totally unexpected. I didn't really realize what we were getting into by putting a married couple in it. Just deepened the emotional quality of those moments.
We need one. It takes two.
So if you do it at a senior center where people are in wheelchairs, you don't even have to have any movement in the show. There's a lot of narration and parts of it that can be done totally static because the music is so beautiful, and you can tailor these shows to the needs of your population. Doing a play in general, and especially a musical, which is very expressive, I think it is a invigorating experience, an enlivening experience for people. I think I literally think it gets people's blood moving. It's stimulating for people. So I think when you perform on the stage, you are using a lot of yourself, and sometimes older people become isolated and lonely and not that active. So that a play is a really terrific way of sparking something in people. And for older people, I think that it brings in this reservoir of energy that they may not be using. The woman, Sue, who played Little Red Riding Hood, who I knew from one of my classes, who's a member at Lenox Hill, was able to bring back this kind of girlish energy, which was really charming, and I think the audience was really taken with what she did. By the same token, she has scenes with the wolf where he's trying to seduce her, basically. And when you do it with an older person, it really brings a lot of different shades to the scene. I mean, Sue played it even like she was turned on by the wolf for a minute, which you're never going to get in a middle school, or they won't let you do it anyway. But she brought the kind of adult female attitude to it, so you're really marrying the idea that she's going to be youthful on the stage, but she's also bringing all this life experience, which is unique to an older person. And she wasn't afraid of doing that. She did a great job with that. The woman who played the witch is a woman, Maggie, who was a singer in her youth. She has some professional experience. I think she had been on Broadway once, many years ago. But she became a teacher for 30, 40 years. And I knew she could sing, so I cast her as the witch. And the idea was that in the play, she's a person who has been cursed herself to become a witch, so she's technically, quote unquote, ugly and old as the witch, and then at the end she becomes youthful and beautiful. And so we turned it around, that we gave her a dark wig as the witch, and then when she became beautiful, we took off the wig and had her in all her gray hair as an older person, and that's where her beauty was. So
This is who I truly am.
I think those kind of ideas really kind of give it a fresh quality that I think is fun. You could, in New York, find retired actors, professional Broadway people who would do a show, you know. That's not really what we're doing here. Go with what is there. Use the people you have and create and construct your play around what you have. And be flexible, I think, is the best advice I can give. Theater is a group activity, and I really want to thank the people at Lenox Hill Neighborhood House, and also Rose Ginsburg, who was basically our producer from Lenox Hill, our terrific musical director Kevin Hull, and our stage manager Kelly Lynn Moncrief, because they were absolutely vital and necessary to doing this project. So thank you for watching.
Happy ever after.